Hello, hello. Anyone out there? Greetings, happy coders. Greetings, cats and kittens. I'm by myself at the moment. Andy is late. He's going to be here in about 30 minutes or so. I'm in my new flat, which we've moved into finally. So we're doing all right. We've been cleaning out the old place today, so I'm a bit tired. But we're doing all right, except I've just switched to this PC and I've got no sound at all. So, not an immediate problem for you guys, because I can tell the sound when I'm testing something. It does actually work for you guys, but I can't hear a bin thing, so I don't know. Let me just fire this up and we'll see. Shout out anyway, say hello. So it seems there's one person here. Hello, Mitsuyama. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Now, I'm just, as I said, I've got, this is a totally new setup. I've moved to a totally different place. A couple of miles down the road, so not too far. But, yeah, I'm just messing about really, because Andy's going to be here in about 30 minutes, I'm guessing. I just want to see that, right, because you guys have got this, there you got Attic Attack, that was a hack that we did last week, or a few weeks ago, a month ago even. Let me just see if we're getting, right, just a second. Okay, yeah, I can see you guys are definitely getting the sound, right? Hello, Frozen. You're getting the sound on this, aren't you? You can actually hear that, right? Because I can't, and I don't know. I actually don't know what to do about it, because it's kind of weird, to be honest. I've had a bit of trouble with this laptop with sound. Yeah, I'll just turn the sound off. Okay, hello Ro. How are you guys doing anyway? Have you had a good week? Time flies, doesn't it? Well, anyway, look, I'd be happy to chat with you guys in the, while I sort this out, but in all honesty, I'm not even that sure. What it is. I'm just going to have to mess about, I kind of assumed everything would be fine. They say about assuming. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, this is well, I tell you what I'll do with the mic. I'll just bring it a little bit closer to my gob. I think that's going to be the best thing. It's already on full, but it looks, yeah, we're getting up to the green there. That's a bit better, isn't it, actually? So, that's good. Hello, Lord Soup. I know your name. I've seen you around. Are you on Amigos? I see. Well, very nice to see you here. Yeah, well, we got plenty of specky around here. We just haven't got any sound at the moment. We're just trying to figure that out, really. It says OBS is using your microphone. Right, you guys can hear me, but That's let me just check this. Interesting. Right. Okay, now I've got sound. I've got sound in the speakers, right? That's a start, but I don't really want that because that's going to cause echo. But that might be enough. Okay, we're in. Right, guys. Well, listen, I tell you what we're going to do, right? It's going to be open season for a little while until Andy turns up. I've got an archive here of Spectrum games. It's quite big, so I think it's got almost everything, and it's got a lot of other stuff besides. Now let me just make sure if I got it connected. And yeah, listen, if you guys want to call something out and you know, say, Alan, why don't you play this while we're waiting? Because honestly, I don't play Speccy that much. I really don't. I code. Every time I feel like I'm in a Speccy mood, I just want to code. I just love coding on a Speccy. So that's what I do. I don't even play my own games much, and only when I'm developing them. You know, and I don't know how many really good games there are, you know. I mean, if you want your kind of nostalgia fix or something, then yeah, there's a few, but I'm not so big on that anyway, really, you know. So I tend to prefer the kind of like kind of crappy basic games and stuff, I'll be honest with you, because I just find them charming. I just sort of imagine the people, you know, the kids at home writing them back in the 80s and you know, and saying you know, getting their mates over and saying, oh, look at it, look what I've done, or I typed this in or whatever. So I kind of like that as a kind of window into another world, you know, like, but and it's the kind of thing that you know, that I don't know, I'm just very I'm a real contrarian, you know, so I kind of like, I love the underdog, and I love that feeling of kind of playing a game that other people wouldn't play or something like this. So I don't know, it's just part of my mentality. So all right, so well, listen, I tell you what, I could put Ghosts and Goblins on if you want. I absolutely love Ghosts and Goblins, but I'm talking about the arcade here, right? And the Spectrum one is not exactly a. Well, I look for the Spectrum. It's actually not bad, is it? But it's not. Without the music, it's you know, it's a little bit less. But if that's what you want, guys, I'll give it a look. I'll give it a look. I could probably play it, and I could probably play the arcade version, but I guess you want your Speccy fix. Have you guys played the PlayStation Portable Ghosts and Goblins? Or Ghouls and Ghosts, whichever one it is. That's bloody brilliant, but it's so difficult. Super Ghouls and Ghosts, it's called. Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic, but it is so tough. You know, it makes the original look like a cakewalk, you know. I think the one I got the furthest in was, I think it was Ghouls and Ghosts on the Mega Drive. It's a really nice version on the Mega Drive. And I used to play it on my Sega Nomad. I used to sit on the tube when I lived in London, and I used to play Ghouls and Ghosts on the Mega Drive. It's a really good version, and yeah, and I really loved having that Nomad. I mean, this was back in about I don't know, 2000 or maybe even a slightly early, maybe about 2000, yeah. And this Nomad was so cool to have at the time because it was before the Game Boy Advance was particularly popular. So I mean, GBA. When did GBA kind of come out? About 2001, right? Yeah, there you go. So it would have been before GBA, and so you'd be on the tube or something, and people would see you playing it, and they'd never seen anything like it because, like, people had Game Boys, right? They had Game Boy Color. I'm gonna say Neo Geo Pocket. I think was yeah. I had a Neo Geo Pocket. I loved that as well. I mean, I had everything, guys. I honestly, I did. I had everything, and I know I'm kind of known for the Speccy, but I really did have pretty much everything. And most games, I can talk about almost any platform, and some great games on there. Yeah, I used to love Neo Geo Pocket. Um, I probably picked one up about the same time. They started to kind of crash around 2001, and I remember Tower Records, as it was then. I think in near Piccadilly, and they were selling them off, and they were like 50 quid, I think, or they might have even been 25 quid. I'm not sure, but I remember the girl I was seeing at the time. She was really into RPGs. So we bought two Neo Geo Pockets for about, I think it was 50 quid for the two, because they were just clearing them out, And there was a few games, and we got this game, this RPG game, which is called Biomotor Unitron. I think that was it. And it's kind of like Pokemon, but with mechs, right? Which is it's a good concept, right? So, yeah, something like that. It's a kind of dungeon crawler, and you control a robot, and you have to kind of, you explore, and you basically have this mech that you can build and advance, and with different tech and stuff, When I say Pokemon, I mean more the graphics than anything else. Like the wandering around. So, sort of overhead wandery view that you used to get on those portables. Anyway, I still have a copy of that, and it's quite rare now. I think it goes for quite a lot of money. So that was one of them, and the other one that the other game that I played a lot of, and I absolutely loved it, was Card Fighters Clash, which is just a brilliant game. It was so much fun. It was basically SNK and Capcom at the time were working together. You might remember the kind of match of the millennium. That was around that time, about 2000. SNK versus Capcom. But they also had this crossover on the Neo Geo, and basically it's like a card collecting game, but all the characters are Capcom and SNK characters, and each one has a different power. So it's kind of like like Magic the Gathering or something like this, but all the characters are SNK or Capcom, and each of them have different moves, and I think they each have different color schemes, so you can kind of team certain ones up with other ones, and various things like this. And yes, Lord Soup, the Neo Geo, the D-pad that's the best D-pad, isn't it? That's the best D-pad on a portable, and it was even clicky. You got to love that little sort of clickiness, haven't you? Just great. But yeah, that was a great game, and there were actually two versions, like a Capcom one and an SNK one, and certain cards weren't available on one or the other, and you had to trade. You had to use the Neo Geo Pocket Linker, which I had as well, and I even had the Neo Geo to Dreamcast Linker, and I don't remember what that did. I think it unlocked a certain card as well. I can't remember, but really good game. But if you wanted to check that game out, then my advice would be to get the sequel. Well, it's not actually there was a sequel on Neo Geo Pocket, so I guess it's the third one in the series, which was on the Nintendo DS. And that was also really good. But it's really, like, you have to be a big fan of SNK and Capcom, and if you are, then you'll really enjoy that, because it's got loads of obscure characters and things like this. Like, it's got all of the Captain Commando characters and different things like that. Captain Commando was supposed to be Capcom's mascot. I think they used Mega Man was the one. I mean, Mega Man's in it as well, but anyway, just love Capcom, and quite keen on SNK as well. So it's a good one if you fancied that, but not very specky, is it? So yeah. So you want me to play Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins, or Ghouls and Ghosts? Which is it? Because yeah, let me see if I've got both of those here. I'm almost certain that I do, but yeah, Art of Fighting. Yeah, well, there is actually like an SNK versus Capcom Match of the Millennium on Neo Geo Pocket. I had that as well. That's really good. And I tell you what else is really good is Metal Slug. There's a really cute version of Metal Slug on there. I actually adapted some of the graphics from that and made it into a kind of specky demo with the characters, and might dig that up at some point. But yeah, it would have been King of Fighters, Lord Soup. Yeah, it would have been. Don't think there wasn't an Art of Fighting, but there's definitely King of Fighters. Also on Neo Geo Pocket, there's Pocket. I think it's called Gals Fighters. That's quite good if you like fighting games. Yeah, well, Lord Soup, I didn't lust after an AES. I had one, and I had about 15 games for it. I also had an MVS. And then eventually I got a 6-slot full-size arcade in my front room with about 30 or 40 games. Yeah, and I also had the Hyper Neo Geo 64 board as well, which was like the follow-up to the. That's what. I had a Neo Geo CD as well. I was such a Neo Geo fanboy. But yeah, I had all of those. I'll tell you what's a really great Neo Geo game that people don't play. You don't see it much. Is called Breakers, and it's a fighting game. There's a lot of fighting games on the Neo Geo, but Breakers is super fast. It's it's pretty basic, but it's a lot of fun, especially 2 players, because it kind of plays like IK Plus. It's like that kind of speed, just bam, 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 right? And yeah, for me, it's quite an underrated game. I think it's had a cult following, and it started to get a bit of a following again now. People are discovering a lot of these games, of course, and not just on emulation, but on the what's FPGA, isn't it, as well now? So yeah, it's definitely it's one to kind of check out. I mean, it's not that polished, but it is a lot of fun. I'm just reading here on the wiki. It says the game is rather obscure in the arcade, but it has gained something of a cult following, along with no ports, putting it deeper into obscurity. Can still be played on modern Japanese fighting game tournaments. Right, there you go. So yeah, Breakers, and there's also Breakers Revenge. Although, to be honest, it's just like the same game with a couple more characters. It's not really. But yeah, I would say. I mean, it's not as good as like King of Fighters '96 or something like that, you know, or maybe Mark of the Wolves or something. You know, that's some real polished fighting games there. But for a quick fighting fix, it's a really good one. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, check it out if you have a chance. If you like IK Plus, then check that out because it is really good. Yeah, big Neo Geo fan. Yeah, still have it actually. A lot of stuff was in storage, and my mate dug it out, and I've still got. Happy to say, still got a Neo Geo, and not sure if I still have a Neo Geo CD. Oh wow! I tell you what, right? When I bought a Neo Geo CD, and I was so excited about it, and I'm going to be honest. I mean, it plays it plays CDs with you know, there's no copy protection. So I did have some original games, of course, but you can't really resist downloading a few games to try them out. And a game that I really liked was Last Blade. So again, bit of a cult following, but also nowadays I think it's recognized as one of the best and absolutely gorgeous as well looking games for the Neo Geo. And another one you should check out if you haven't checked it out, because it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful game, and plays really well. Unfortunately, not one that I've owned apart from the dodgy CD, as I mentioned. But the loading times, oh my god! I thought the loading times were bad with some of the games that I had, but the loading times for the CD version of Last Blade, absolute murder. I mean, it makes the Speccy look good. It really does. You know, it was loading in, because this game is, as I said, it is gorgeous, right? And it's huge amount of memory for the graphics, right? And so just it would be loading up just the selection screen, you know, for the artwork, and that would load, and then you choose your characters, and then it would have to load both characters, and it was brutal, absolutely. I mean, you just didn't want to bother. You really didn't want to bother. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth a go. That as well. I'm talking more than I'm playing. I hope I'm not. Yeah, the Neo Geo CD did indeed would benefit from that. There is, I think it was called CDZ, wasn't it? CDZ maybe. That was double speed, but hard to get hold of. Yes, Neo Geo CDZ, probably CDZ, an upgraded faster loading version, released only in Japan. Faster, but it was only 2-speed. Though I have heard that some people have managed to upgrade it or something like that, so that it would actually yeah, okay, so apparently you can get an SD loader for your Neo Geo CD. I don't know if it's gonna load them faster or what. You'd think it would, wouldn't you? I mean, you'd hope so. But you'd have to do some sort of a BIOS upgrade, wouldn't you? So yeah. Yeah, I wonder about Biomotor Unitron. I wonder. I mean, again, I remember it was so cheap at the time. The games, they were selling all the games off for about tenner each or something. So we bought as many as were available when they were doing a clear out. And yeah, I mean, it's looking at this, looking on eBay, and it's someone's selling one for £93.50. Now that doesn't mean that that's what it's actually, you know, what you're going to get, but it seems like it must be worth a bit then if they're asking that, because that would suggest that you might find it, if you're lucky, for 50 quid, 60 quid, something like that, which I suppose is... Oh, I'm just seeing here there's a Biomotor Unitron 2. I had no idea, but I'm sure that'd be Japanese only. Card Fighters Clash actually has a sequel, and it's also really good. It's all in Japanese, so you have to... there is a translation patch. So I used to have like a special cart for the Neo Geo Pocket, so that you could you know, try before you buy, let's say. But I had a pretty nice collection of carts as well. Yeah, love all that stuff. Okay, so let me just check on Andy, what's happening, see if he's about. He said he might be 30 minutes. It's getting up to that, so I've managed to talk the hind legs off a donkey, haven't I? It's quite nice to chat about stuff that's not directly Speccy related. So, yeah. Let me send him a message, see how he's doing. No sign of him yet. Okay, well let's let's boot something up then. Oh, very nice, Pastrama. Yeah, thanks a lot, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah, you go for that if you want. Enjoy yourself. But I must be doing all right, you know. I must be doing a little bit better. That if I start getting spam, perhaps that's a good sign. It's just a bot, isn't it? Just a bot floating around. Okay. Right. I have got a folder here for Speccy stuff, and it is there are oh my word, just a second. It's got all different versions of all different games, right? And there are 58,221 different files in 8,986 folders. So there's quite a lot of Speccy. It's about 2 gig or something. Not going to tell you where I got that from. Someone lent it to me or so. I don't know. Anyway. Personal use and all that. Okay. So we are in, I'm in the G's. I am looking at Gary Lineker's super skills. We're moving on from that. Gemini wing. Is that, sounds like a zero wing, isn't it? I'm confusing it. Jeff Cape's strongman now. There you go. Oh, Genghis Khan, which is quite appropriate for me living out here in Kazakhstan. Interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, I grew up thinking his name was Genghis, but it's actually pronounced Chinggis. In general, over here, they'd call him Genghis Khan. and his big hero, you know. Okay, Ghost Gobbler, Ghost Guzzler, Ghost Hunt, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Maze. I wonder what kind of games they are. Ghost Busters, Ghosts and Goblins, and Ghouls and Ghosts. Right then. Let's see how we can get on with this. Can we get it running? I'll tell you one thing, right? We can't play this without music, so there better be music. Ghosts and Goblins, it might just be the best music, or one of, certainly got to be one of my favourites of all time, right? That's great, isn't it? Do you think you'll get copyright? Can you get copyright strikes for that? I don't know. So if you were playing a game, wouldn't that... Mitsuyama says, not a bad rendition of the tune. Yeah, well, that being the arcade, that ain't the Speccy. Please don't imagine that was the Speccy, because that was not the Speccy. Right? But, yeah, it'd be impressive if it was. I ain't got sound on. I don't think we'd get anything like that. What I was thinking of doing was, you know, putting I was putting the arcade sound over the top of the game. You see, what's going on with this timer here? Curious about that. Sorry, guys. It's like, wow, that was really good, right? That sounded just like the arcade. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that again because I pressed the left and right incorrectly and the jump. Don't know, what do I want? Do I want space for fire? I think I want space for fire. Right, redefine. Right, we'll jump, fire, down, up, right, left. See, I always think it's going to be left, right, but anyway. Oh, that's Andy there. Hello, Andy. Well, you know, dirty stop out that you are. Anyway, I said I would just play a game, and so decided to play Ghosts and Goblins, and I decided to put the arcade music over the top, and then they all thought that it was the Speccy, and that was like, wow, this AY chip's impressive. These controls are terrible. Oh, that's terrible. See that, right? When you're there, if you press forward and jump, he doesn't jump forward. Oh, is that the dagger? That's good. Bad collision detection. And now I'll have to keep resetting. I don't want the sword. Oh. If you can survive, with the dagger, you've got half a chance, to be honest. Oh well. I'm not happy with the controls that I've selected. I didn't even jump then. Oh my word. Perhaps I slipped on the... Well, given it's, you know, the scrolling and the masking and everything, it's actually not bad, is it? It's pretty smooth. I remember at the time thinking that it was pretty decent, which is more than can be said for me. He's a bit stumpy, isn't he? Was this a crash smash? Feels like it could be, doesn't it? I love this dagger because you can obviously just fire loads. I pressed the wrong button for jump then. Oh, I'm done, aren't I? Alright. Just a second then, Andy. Let's go with... how about this? This is bloody good, isn't it, eh? Oh, I didn't see that bird. See how much better I'm playing with this music? I could not see that bird. Anyway, that was good fun. I enjoyed that. So thanks for that suggestion, guys. Let's get on with the show. Yeah, that definitely was not Speccy Beeper. If you want to listen to that, that was on Super Ghouls and Ghosts Haunted Graveyard Orchestra. And it said here, obviously heavily Beetlejuice inspired, yes. But that was fun. That really did have a good atmosphere. Liked it a lot. Had a bit of a Tim Burton vibe, didn't it? Yeah, definitely. All good. Right then. Let's get Discord going. Yeah, we've been talking about, well, I've been mostly talking about Ghouls and Ghosts and playing it on the Sega Nomad, and then I was talking about Neo Geo. I was just showing off. I was being like a hipster gamer, showing off all my old consoles and stuff, you know, talking about obscure games, making myself look good, like I'm part of the retro mafia, you know. Anyway, let's Discord. Right. Okay, guys. So normally I'd have already set this up with Andy, but so just bear with me and then we'll go. So today, before we do the coding, we're going to look at a game and I'm going to talk to Andy and I'm going to ask him a few questions about stuff. All right. I wasn't so keen on it. I think there was a Ghouls and Ghosts or something for the Switch or something, and the animation was a bit clean, you know. Anyway, right, what are we doing? I think it's hello. I can't hear you. No, not hearing you. Apologies to you guys on the stream. We normally set this up, of course, before we start and do a few tests, but no, I can't hear you. But just a minute. You say something. No, it's not coming up on the audio at all. So, well, that's better. Look, we can see your whole head now. Can't see your belly. Not that you have a belly, I'm just, you know. Can't hear you. Can you guys hear him on the stream? Just to double check then, just to make sure it's not me. But have I got you on mute or something silly like that? I don't think so. No, you're not. You're not on mute. Oh, output device. Let me try that. You say something?
Hello?
Oh, that's better.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I wonder what that was. I got this something.
I hadn't changed anything. I was just looking at the microphone.
I think it was me.
Yeah?
Something happened with this, some sort of default. Anyway, right, that's you.
Okay.
Just a minute. Do me a little sound check so I can check on the audio of the stream.
1 2 1 2.
Yeah, that's plenty loud. That's louder than me.
Yeah.
Right, now that we get, let's get your face on screen as well. Just a minute.
I think what normally happens is we put my face on the screen, and then when you switch from, I guess, Discord onto the thing whether we're doing, whether it's a game or whatever, it freezes it.
Yeah, well, we're all right. Look, there you are. You're on now.
Yeah.
You're going to get moved up now on the old... look, there he is. Look, there he is. There we go. All good.
Bit of a lag.
There you go. Nice. Okay, so first of all, Andy, before we start...
Yes.
We didn't mention it last week, but you were a little bit stressed last week, and you still came on to put your mind off things. And thankfully, it all ended up fine. Basically, Andy's cat had been missing for 24 hours last week, and he was very worried about it, as he would be, of course. It's a member of the family and all that. But all's well that ends well, yes?
Yes. I literally got off the stream and decided it was about 11:30 my time, and I went out into the area. I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac, so there's not a lot of places where she could have gone. And I shouted out her name and heard this little cry, and she was literally 20 meters from the house.
And
but it was an area that I walked through a dozen times. Yeah.
And the cat's name is what?
Is Squeak.
Right. So you were walking around your estate going, squeak, squeak.
Squeak, squeak, squeak. Yeah. Luckily, I'd spoken to a lot of the neighbours that day, so that they all knew she was missing.
Have you seen that Monty Python sketch about the men who want to be mice?
Probably, but I can't
It's
remember.
quite
I've
funny,
watched a
you
lot
know.
of Monty
And
Python.
he said like, he goes, yeah, some of us, we wanted to be mice. And he said, how did you get into it? And he said, well, I was at a party and someone started passing around the cheese, you know, and I tried a bit. It was just the once, and you know, well, the next thing I knew, we were sort of hanging out with some fellas, and we were sort of squeaking a bit, and some of them started dressing up as mice, and it's very funny. Anyway, you should watch it. It's good.
I have to have a look for that.
Yeah. It reminds there's kind of drug references and stuff that's just to do with but just to do with cheese, you know. It's like that. It's like that thing in Family Guy, you know, with the Cookie Monster.
Yeah,
and it portrays Cookie Monster as as like a drug addict because he's so addicted to cookies. He's actually an addict. And have you seen the one when he finds him in the toilet? It's so funny.
Yeah.
He opens the door and Cookie Monster's in the toilet, and he's got a spoon, and he's got some cookie dough, right? And he squeezes the cookie dough out onto the spoon, you know, like it's drugs or something.
Yeah.
And then he gets a lighter, and he's going like this, trying to cook it. and the whole time he's going like this. He's going, "Come on, you little bitch! Come on!"
Nice.
Anyway, I have lived a bit of a rock and roll lifestyle, which I know you have too, but nothing drug related. I'm going to tell you now. Well,
No.
almost nothing. Certainly nothing hard. Just not worth it. Just not worth it. I'll tell you that now.
Oh, right. Sorry, that was a bit of a rush to get back.
That's all right. Yeah, you're very welcome. So let's talk. Right. So we got this game, guys. Right. That we was kind of playing, and it's a little bit unusual. So what I thought I'd do is actually we'll just start the conversation because this game is a little bit unusual because it's kind of based on sort of Kandinsky and Mondrian artwork, things like that, right?
Mm.
Maybe you know Vasily Kandinsky. He's a
Don't
sort of
really-
famous
yeah,
abstract artist. He's a pioneer of pioneer of abstract art, and his works do kind of look a little bit like they could be made on a Speccy, but not as much as Mondrian. Now, Mondrian, interestingly, I remember Mondrian was super hip and popular when I was a student. I don't know if you remember, but this was in the early 90s, you know, and so many people had kind of Mondrian posters on their walls, you know. And I remember there was this one girl who I quite liked, and she was really into Mondrian, so I kind of, you know, pretended that I was as well, as you do, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do digress a little. Let me at least bring the game up at the beginning, and then to be honest, we played this game, guys, right? And it's okay. It's a little bit... I'm going to have to say that it's not very polished because I got stuck a couple of times. And, you know, I'm not going to criticize it too much for this because I don't think it's really meant to be a super polished game. It's more of a sort of experimental thing. And there's some interesting ideas going on with it. And, yeah, so... It's called, what's it called? TCQ, or, I mean, it's kind of triangle, circle, square, it's sort of called, isn't it?
Mm.
and the music is really good, right? That should be said.
The music is good.
We like the music hugely. And it's nice to see someone doing something a bit different, right? That's always nice to see. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I've got it on. Maybe I need to have it on a 1 to 8K. Maybe that's why I'm having a bit of trouble here. I hope. Or have I just got it on pause as well? That always. Okay. I think we'll just let this play a little bit, yeah? Let the guys appreciate it. Pause it there. So yeah, I'm liking that music. That's good. I like it because it's not so super clean, right? It's quite distorted. That's one thing I like about it. You know, it's very kind of rough around the edges, isn't it? And that's good. I like that. It feels a little bit more analog because of that.
Yeah, it's got a nice, as I said yesterday, it kind of gives me like 1980s synth pop vibes, which is something you don't really get, I don't think, from AY's sound a lot of the time.
And yet you think you probably would, since it is an 80s chip. Yeah. Well, it can't really do chords, you know. That's the thing that.
True. Yeah.
That's the thing it always struggles with. But in
it didn't it do that? I mean, there were some games back in the day I remember that had kind of like a chordy type effect.
Well, that's when you hear those kind of arpeggios, you know, which is for those who are not musically inclined. An arpeggio is when you play a chord, but you play it single notes very quickly. So you go da 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 like this, and that gives you that. A feeling of a chord, right?
Yeah.
But not an actual chord. But yeah, no, I like that. And the other thing I liked about that is that I'm not a big fan of synth drums in general, right? But what I don't like is when the synth drums. This is just personal taste, by the way. I'm not dictating anything here, but personally, I like it when the synth drum just embraces being a synth drum and doesn't try to be a real drum, you know?
Yeah.
So it kind of says, look, this is the rhythm instrument, this is what we've got, and this is what we're going to use, right? And it doesn't sound like a drum. It's not trying to be a drum. It's a different approach, and that's good.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like is that they haven't been lazy with the rhythm, right? With the rhythm section, we talk about the bass and the drums especially. A lot of game music and AY music, they are pretty lazy when it comes to the bass and especially the drums, right? Often the drum track, I mean, of course, you know, you've got to put a drum track into a single channel probably. And in fact, quite often you've got to kind of, you know, pepper it between notes because you've got those limitations, right? And that's why you end up with this kind of boom, tch, boom, tch, boom, tch. I'm feeding back. I can hear myself in the headphones. I don't know if that's. Yeah, so there's a lot of boom tish, you know. There's a lot of boom tish in the AY music. Boom, tch, boom, tch, boom, boom. So when you get some offbeats and some, you know, backbeat kind of thing going on, which is, you know, if you listen to the drum track on there and the bass as well, it's actually, you know, there's thought gone into it, which is good, you know.
Yeah.
But I am going to have to turn that down a little if we're going to talk about it. So we like that, right? Now,
We do.
have you read the backstory? Have you read the kind of blurb?
I didn't know.
Well, you should, because it's quite interesting.
I should have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because now I'm just trying to see, is there a volume? I'm trying to figure out how I can actually control the volume rather than just mute or unmute, because it's a little bit loud. I wouldn't
You
mind.
can do it via the sound mixer. Windows.
But won't that just turn everything down though? Well, I suppose it doesn't.
No, you can change the volume of each application that's currently running.
Ah, okay. Well, I think that's okay anyway. Can I still hear you all right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys on the stream? Can you hear it? Or shall I just... Yeah, it's a little bit. All right, I tell you what, we'll just knock it off. It's not a problem. It's not really necessary. We know what it sounds like, and it is good. But there's no option to turn the sound off. Andy's frozen as well. What's happened to you, Andy?
Yeah, I don't know. I froze a minute ago.
But you can still hear me though.
Yep.
This bloody fly come in the room now. This is as most of you know, I've moved to this new flat, and it's on the first floor now instead of the fifth floor, and it's nice, but you get a lot more flies coming in in the summer on the first floor than you do on the fifth floor. But anyway, I'll try not to let it annoy me. Can you still hear me?
Yep. Yeah, I was just trying to restart my camera.
Lord Soup is shaking his funky stuff. Well, I'm glad I'm glad you've still got some funky stuff. I've run out of funky stuff. I'll run out in my 40s, I think. I don't know. I might have some somewhere. Perhaps I've got some in the cupboard somewhere. Anyway.
I'm frozen again.
Okay. Yes, we are all computer nerds, but we are 80s computer nerds, and it is not the same. Okay. So, backstory is this. This is a developer from Brazil, and in a terrible sort of unprepared way, I have not I have not found out the guy's name or anything, right? Okay, so the guy's name is, well, his pseudonym is Amawex, and I believe that that he's from Brazil, and the music is by Sergei Nilov. A lot of good AY tunes, of course, coming out of Russia. Not a lot else good coming out of Russia, not at the moment anyway, but certainly AY tunes. Nice. Anyway, okay, so let's give you a little bit of a background about this, because this guy is like from Brazil, as I said, and Brazil is a little bit of another little pocket of spectrum activity. I'm not sure quite how that happened, but I know that in the 80s and in the 90s, the Brazilian government had a lot of legislation about certain machines that were allowed into Brazil, and they had to be licensed by a local manufacturer and various things like this. So I don't know if they had clones of the Spectrum over there or what, but anyway, there is a little bit of a scene over there, and of course Portugal as well. We mentioned Spain, and we should really say that it was actually Iberia that was a little bit of a hive of activity for the Spectrum as well. So Portugal is another scene, but I think this is from Brazil, and it's interesting because they. Can you hear me all right, Andy? Yeah.
Yeah, you're sometimes there, sometimes not. I don't know if our connection is very good tonight.
It might not be.
But I can hear you at the minute. I could, yeah.
So, Lord Soup says that the Sega Master System was huge in Brazil. Yes, indeed. Well, they got a license. A company called Tectoy got a license to produce them over there. So that was how they managed to do that. And you know, the Mega Drive and the SNES didn't really get to Brazil in the same way that it did to a lot of other parts of the world, because they were imported. But Tectoy had this license, I think, to create their own version of the machine with it locally, you know, and that was why they were able to sell it. And then it was compatible with a lot of Master System games. And then they carried on making, you know, they paid coders to keep making games long after the system was abandoned, really, in the rest of the world. So you can find some pretty interesting games like I'm trying to think in particular. I think there's like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and a few other things like this, you know. Quite interesting. There's also a strange Woody Woodpecker game for the Master System that was released only in Brazil, because apparently Woody Woodpecker is like massive in Brazil, right? Like bigger than Mickey Mouse. Yeah. So anyway, you've got a bit of the old Woody Woodpecker going there with your hair there, mate. I see, as you just turn to the
There's a little bit.
There's a little bit in it.
It needs a
cut. Right. So anyway, let's move on from that. But yeah, so culturally, that's interesting. But let me ask you this, because I think that my experience, okay, so I'm living here in the former Soviet Union, and one of the things that is still a legacy of the Soviet Union, right, and of socialist countries in general, is that art is seen as a little bit less elitist and a little bit more belonging to the people, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's not odd for people, just regular, you know, everyday folks to go to the ballet and the opera and theater, you know, and things like this. And I went to see I think it was Othello, but I think it was the opera, and in a wonderful kind of old Soviet style theater. It was only like 300 or 400 capacity audience, and you know, it almost had an atmosphere like a pub gig or something, you know. I mean, what I mean by that is it was just regular people just enjoying it, you know.
Yeah.
And appreciating it, and you know, I know we've spoken about that. You're not a big fan of opera, and I can't say that I'm a huge fan. It has its moments for me, but it's yeah, the guys in the chat still talking about the Master System. Apparently there was an e-banking. So they're not very keen on me talking about Soviet opera and things. But anyway, I've decided that that's what's going to happen on these streams. We are going off at different tangents now and again.
We do.
And so, and I love that. There's practically nothing that I won't talk about really, but there is a point to this though, and that is that there are countries where France as well has a strong socialist tradition, so perhaps that's another reason why that happens there as well. But like modern art there, like the Pompidou Center and things like this, they're very much ingrained into the culture, like just normal regular people can appreciate and talk about art without it being seen as a bit up its own jacksy, let's say, right? So, and I've always felt that in England, at least, when you try and talk about that, people tend to just kind of be like, no, I'm not really into that. Can we talk about Star Wars or whatever, right? So, and again, I mean, I'm not being. It's a sort of inverse snobbery. I mean, am I wrong about that? That's kind of my perception.
Don't know.
Okay then. Do you like Kandinsky? Do you like? All right, let's try. Yes or no. Do you like or do you know the work of Kandinsky?
I don't.
Okay. Do you like or do you know the work of George Lucas?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are you familiar? Are you familiar, or do you enjoy the work of Igor Stravinsky?
I've heard of him.
I see. All right. Okay. Are you a fan of Depeche Mode?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, okay. Let me see. Pop culture 2. High culture art. I don't know. Nil so far. Right. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm being a bit Soviet here. I shouldn't. Let me try and. So are you going to choose? Let's say, are you going to choose Steven Spielberg or Federico Fellini?
It would be Spielberg.
Of course it bloody would. Okay. So that's 3-0. We're not doing well.
Yeah.
We're not doing well, right? I see. So music fail, film fail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. I'm an uncultured swine.
Well, you say that, but I mean, I don't know. It's like I got to be honest and say that I mean, look, I'm not a huge fan of Fellini. I imagine that I would be, right, if I gave him a chance. And so, I mean, it is highbrow. I don't know. Maybe there is a thing where you feel like, oh, it's a bit too intellectual. I don't know. Is it snobbery? I don't know what it is, but
I think it's just a lack of exposure to it, really, isn't it?
Maybe. Well, I mean, I do love Ingmar Bergman, right? I've got to say.
Yeah.
But I've only seen a couple of things. I haven't got like massively into his work, but I do love it nevertheless. And I'm trying to. There's a film, right, and which I would definitely recommend, called Persona. Yeah.
Right.
Also a really good series of video games, although I imagine you're more familiar with that than you are with this film. But anyway, we're here to educate. We're here to talk. So, if you, he said, Fellini, didn't he play for Fulham? No, that was Fellaini. He played for Everton and Manchester United, and now he plays in China. Anyway, okay, yeah. So some people are saying here that rock opera. Well, that's interesting. When rock metal crosses over with opera, but not rock opera, right? But rock opera is like Tommy, right? That's a pretty good Quadrophenia. Have you seen that?
Mm, yeah.
Classic, yeah, good. No, I mean I've got to say overall it's interesting because I'm a big fan of pop culture generally, right? And it's right back from
Yeah.
50s and 60s and 70s all the way, right? And it's not to do with my age, in the sense of it not being. It's not that I grew up with that stuff,
Mm,
because I don't remember anything about. I don't remember much about the 70s, in terms of films, and I was
no.
too young to go and see those kind of films anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting because at the time I remember, like, for example, just really loved like Bruce Lee or something, right? Enter the Dragon or whatever, and we just thought it was brilliant, right? And our parents were like, "Oh, it's just cheap rubbish. It's just chop socky nonsense," right? And but over time, as you get older, and I don't know if is it just us getting older, and therefore we now have the authority to sort of say that it's good, because now it's seen as almost like high art, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like legend. It's like, no, but that's legendary. That's like like Star Wars, right? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
that was just a kids' film. Right? And no, listen, I'm not knocking it. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying
No.
that when it came out,
Yeah.
that was a kids' film, right?
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
And don't no, anyone tells me, oh yeah, lots of grown-ups were into it. Honestly, they weren't really. They thought it was stupid. They thought it was like a story of a kid with his two little robots, and a big bad nasty guy and everything else. Now, we thought it was bloody amazing, right?
Yeah.
And as kids, that's what we thought, right?
Yeah.
And then we grew up and we still thought it was bloody amazing. But
I don't think sci-fi was given. It wasn't mainstream, and that was the start of it, wasn't it? Star Wars was kind of like. I mean, there had been like sci-fi in the 60s, but it was all, very campy and didn't take itself seriously at all.
Well,
black and white flying saucers.
Give me a second.
Sort of
I want to show you something. Just a second.
Yeah. Oh, the Hammer films. Yeah. Twins of Evil. My cousin used to be into the Hammer films, and so whenever I went to visit them, that's all we would watch. The old vampire films, and was it Vampire Circus? That was one that Vampire Circus brings back memories. There were some great films.
Yeah,
and yes, they did have lots of those in there.
Let me see if this.
What's that?
Can we get this on the screen here? Look, let's see. See if that works.
It could have been any of them.
Wait, I don't know if this is gonna. I don't know if this is gonna work. Right? Can you see that? I don't know. I don't think it's working.
No. Your background's probably overriding it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the green screen that's killing it, to be honest.
Yeah. No.
I don't know what's going on. Anyway, this is a poster of the classic, one of the best sci-fi movies of all time, of course, which is Solaris, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is a poster that I've had made for it, and you can kind of see a little bit of it there.
Off.
It's a really great poster, right? So
yeah. Cat scratching the coffee table.
Is that Bubble or Squeak?
That's Bubble.
I see.
Squeak's over there.
I see.
I don't think
all right. Am I still all lined up? Have I messed it up?
No.
Yeah,
good.
Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, right? Just fantastic and really good actors. And I loved all that Hammer stuff as a kid. And I'm thinking, well, have our tastes kind of evolved and changed? Have they because all of this stuff's so mainstream now, right?
Yeah.
And is that just because we're, you know, is it
Hmm.
just because we grew up with that stuff, so we kind of like it, or I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like what I think. You know, what you grow up with, what you're exposed to as a kid, is they're the things that you take through the rest of your life and you
Yeah,
enjoy through the rest of your life. Um, my my partner, I mean, she kind of grew up not being exposed to any of the sort of things that I like.
yeah.
So she hates sci-fi, she hates computers, she hates horror films. So whenever we're trying to find something to watch on telly, it's a bit difficult. Um,
Well, I have to say that my missus is, I think this is one of the, it is a real strong fundamental thing that our relationship is based on, right? Because
yeah.
we both really love finding out new things,
Hmm.
right? And so, you know, um, for that reason, it's like, you know, I'm able to show her some of the things that I have enjoyed growing up, and a lot of the time she's been really into it. You know, like just
Yeah.
recently we've really we really got into watching Columbo. You know, and she really loves
Okay.
Columbo now, right? I just like Columbo anyway, but just as an example, you know, and it's been a great fun for me to kind of pick out things, knowing what she likes, pick out things that I really like, and find that we both really enjoy them. And we've actually both discovered a lot of films that we hadn't seen, you
Mm.
know, together. Like, you know, I mentioned the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, you know, which is just
Yeah.
wonderful film, you know, and
Yeah.
um, things like Night of the Hunter, which is Charles Lawton, who played the Hunchback of Notre Dame. He'd only made one film,
All right.
and it got absolutely destroyed by the critics, and he never recovered from it, and he never made another film. And it's
Oh,
such a shame because it's a wonderful fairy story of a film, just
yeah.
marvelous, you know. So yeah, so that's been fun, and I've also been discovering, and of course I learning to speak Russian. It helps a lot, but you know, there's a wonderful legacy of Soviet cinema, which is again, you know, I mean, I'm not here to talk too much politics, but when you talk about socialism, um, and let's try and see if we can bring it back to this game, right? Um, Whatever else you might say about socialism in terms of economics and politics and everything else, there is a lot of investment that goes into art, you know, and and it's funded and it's done. And a lot of it is done not for profit; it's done purely for art's sake, right?
Yeah.
And that, you know, there's a lot to be said for that, and a lot of good stuff, um, a lot of good stuff in the '60s and '70s in America as well was also funded in that way. You know, it was done in such a way that you know, people were ready to take a few risks and invest and so on. And
Yeah.
it wasn't all about entertainment, right? And so now we're going to see how good I am at a segue, because what I'm going to ask you now then, after all of this, is some good. Well, there's a full on chat going on here. They're all talking about different stuff, right? They're talking about the professionals, labyrinth. Anyway, there's a bloody fly. It's off. Anyway, I haven't got the chat on my thing here, so I have to kind of keep an eye on it. Anyway, guys, I hope yeah, we're all chatting together, and it's a bit like when you're in the pub and you've got two fellas chatting and another two with a different conversation, and they merge together. Right. So we're talking about here. Here's my segue. Look, check me out. Right, one time. Um, so you talk about art, right? whatever art may be, you know, exploration of the human condition. Maybe it's something that is there to provoke you to kind of use your own imagination to kind of explore your you know, personal feelings about the world and your position in it and so on. And then of course there's entertainment, right?
Yep.
And a lot of modern big box office cinema, let's say, that's entertainment. I think Scorsese said that's not cinema, that's a fairground ride, right? I watch Avengers Endgame, that's not cinema, that's a fairground ride. It's like the best ghost train that you've ever been on, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, fair enough, right? I guess that's probably true. And I mean, I can't help I can't help it. I still watch all those Marvel films, right? And I don't enjoy them in the same way as I enjoy, of course, you know, Night of the Hunter or something like that. And I don't watch those films with my wife because she's not into it at all. That's true. There's no, you know, and fair enough. It's not like you can't expect overlap in everything. And she's just not really into it. And to be honest, I don't mind because I quite like just, you know, if she goes out with, you know, she goes out on a girls' night out or something, and I just watch Spider-Man or something. You know, it's fine. It's all right. But they are a bit of a distraction. They are just a filler. So the question I want to ask you then is, because we're coming back to games. Now, which category? Where are we going to put games? Could it be art? Is there such a thing as a game that you would really consider to be art, or is it ultimately just entertainment and a really good fairground ride?
I mean, overall, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it's, to me, it is entertainment. Yeah. It is a form of entertainment. And then every now and then you will get something that tries to cross the boundary between the two, I guess.
Yes.
Obviously, I think this is one of those examples.
Yes. Whether it achieves it or not is another question, but yes.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, yeah. Obviously, I'm in the industry. I've been an artist and a technical artist for the last 26, 27 years.
Yes.
So my eye, when it comes to gaming, is always on the artistic side.
Yes, and when you say that, you mean the visually artistic side, right?
Yes, yeah. So I know what goes into these games. I've worked with so many amazing artists who, if they put their skills to it, they could produce some beautiful artwork.
Yes.
So if they're capable of doing that for a game, I guess you have to say that there is a merging of the two. I mean, yes. You know, you put a scene together in Unreal that looks, I mean, these days with Unreal 5, it's photorealistic. The lighting that you can get is real world. The amount of geometry you can throw into a scene makes the environment look lifelike.
Yes.
You've got trees moving, blah, blah, blah. But a frame of that...
But that I could say the same thing about CGI in the Marvel movie, right? Because like, when I see that, I'm like, bloody hell, that really looks like the Hulk, right? Or that looks, you know, whatever, right? Yeah. It's like, that's how I saw it in the comics. It's really close now. And there isn't even... I mean, there are, you know, for some reason, I don't know why, but the motion capture, sometimes it just doesn't quite work. Sometimes I suppose it's when the characters do something that a human character, motion capture character, couldn't actually do.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but you see, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to that same point again, because I think, yes, you're right. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and so on, right? technically
Yeah.
marvelous, and beautifully constructed, choreographed, all of those things. That's still, I'm still on the ghost train there, because I think that this is something that I
Yeah.
do because I teach writing, right? And I mean, I'm not like teaching like college or anything like this. I mean, for people who don't know who English isn't their native language, right? So, but nevertheless, you talk about this principle of, like, you have idea one, you have idea two, you join them together, and then you have a connection, and there's something new, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to say is this. You see, when I watched Night of the Hunter, yeah, it's a beautiful film, right? It's
Hmm.
wonderfully shot. It's well acted. There are some very surreal and bizarre kind of little moments and choices that the director made. But at the end of the film, I'm left with something that was created only through my own personal relationship with that film, right? So it's
Right.
something new, like it made me look at the world or myself or other people or whatever in a slightly different way, right?
Okay.
Something a little bit more profound, right? So it's not just wow, that was fun, or wow, that was really exciting, or it's a kind of
Mm.
passive experience, right? What I'm saying is this is more like an active experience because it made me think about it,
Yeah.
and I was thinking,
Yeah.
why did they do that, and what was it, and I think that's a difference, with it. I mean,
Mm.
there's a well-known spectrum. We'll go to the comments in a minute. We had a couple of comments, but you might know the game Deus Ex Machina. I guess probably you know
Yes.
it. Yeah, it's a famous game. Listen,
Yeah.
it's not a wonderful, amazing playable game, but as a concept, it's really interesting. I really enjoyed it at the time because because it was new. Like you played this game and you had a cassette and you listened to the soundtrack, and it was thought provoking at some level.
Yeah.
And there aren't many games that do that. I don't know. Listen, there are some really
Yeah.
amazing stories, right? I mean, I absolutely loved, like like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, and it's so absorbing, right? The world, it draws you in. I don't know if you've played those games, but Ico
No.
especially, you should. That's
I
a
I've seen.
yeah,
Yeah.
you should play that. It's a wonderful game, and it draws you in. I mean, as I said, I've just been playing playing through Yakuza series. Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami. I just completed it. And again, there's characters, and they they draw you in, and when those characters, well, some of the characters die in the game, and it's really
Yeah.
shocking. It's genuinely shocking. Um, because some of the characters, they're not like the main character, they're just like a fairly innocent character, but you kind of like them, and then suddenly they're gone from the game, and you're like, wow, this is I mean, I know some people don't like cutscenes, but I quite enjoy it, really. um anyway, let's
Yeah.
just see what people are saying. um so art style is very important. When is gameplay art? Would you pay to go and see a museum full of game art over the years? I'm guessing you would. So game art is art, but for a different audience. That's what you've
Yeah.
said.
That's what I just read. Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
was just
see.
thinking it as
Sorry.
you were talking
Oh, I
there.
see. Right. Yes. Well, I was talking over you and not letting you get a word in.
That's all right.
um, well, yeah. Look, it's always personal, right? And I think
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
more artistic, the deeper you go into that question of art, it is personal, right?
Yeah.
So what this guy is doing with this game here that we're talking about, right? We haven't even moved off the screen. But he's really into those artists, yeah? And one of the things that those artists did was to kind of explore the idea of kind of geometry and the limitations of geometry and the way that we frame ourselves in the world and the way we position ourselves as objects within the world, right? And there's a kind of deconstruction of that within this art that explores, you know, these kind of primary colors and primary shapes and so on, as a means by which that you then, as the viewer, can explore your own relationship with the world and your own limitations, let's say, right, without trying to get too highbrow about it. But so that's an interesting idea, and you know, another thing I can really going off on tangents here, but one of the interesting things about Islamic art is that in Islam there is a sense that God is the creator, right? And that means that man is not the creator. God is the creator. God creates everything, right? So in Islamic art, that was one of the reasons why you won't see a lot of drawings of faces or animals or anything like this, because they are not considered to be you're replicating the work of God almost, right? It's kind of it's a kind of plagiarism of God, if you like, right? So no, I mean, you know, I'm not criticizing or praising that as a concept. It's just that is what it is, right? But it is interesting. So what you'll find in Islamic art is not an exploration necessarily of the human condition, but more an exploration of the natural order of things, right? So that's why you find a lot of geometry within Islamic art, right? That's why you'll find a lot of this kind of celebration of the natural physics and laws of nature as they exist, right? So it's not about you don't replicate it, but you can explore and celebrate it, right?
Okay.
So it's an interesting approach. I mean, again, limitations. Yes, as Lord Soup says there, it's kind of taboo to represent something made by the Lord, but you can explore the rules. So the idea is that, you know, God has put in place a certain set of limitations and rules, right, within which we exist, and therefore, as humans, we are able to explore and celebrate and, you know, try to experience them in different ways.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is that what you do as an artist is that you create the scenario in which people can experience creation itself, right?
Yeah.
And appreciate it. So you kind of, as an artist, what you do is you basically shine a light on things which already exist. You don't create them.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And a similar thing, I think, in music. In some forms of Islam, music is completely outlawed, whereas in others, there's more a focus on rhythm and mathematical rhythms and patterns, right? So, anyway, it's kind of interesting, and you know, there are, but what's is an interesting stream, isn't it? But what I'm coming back to here is that limitations generally fuel creativity, right? And we know, as coders, that we have these limitations, right? And that's the thing we like about the spectrum. And of course, one of the biggest limitations is the attribute clash, right?
Yes.
So what this guy has done with this game is that, and you know, here we go. We can sort of play the game now. So what this guy's done with the game is he has just said, well, look, you know what? The attribute clash, if you like, is a fundamental part of the spectrum. And it's to be kind of completely embraced. And as you can see, you know, that's what this is all about. So there is takes advantage of the fact with AGD that that there is a sort of well, it doesn't use any kind of ink on the sprite, does it? So
No.
yeah, so you're basically moving pixels around here, and the attributes are done over the top, and everything is done within these kind of character squares. And you know, you start off as a circle, but then you can change into a triangle, and the triangle has a different ability, which I think is to, what's the fire button? There it is, right?
You shoot, can't it?
Yeah, it has the ability to sort of fire this laser, but interestingly, it also gets moved backwards if you fire it, right? And so, yeah, you need to go, first of all, from that area into here, and then that will allow that will allow you to destroy the this part and go through here. And I think there are three shapes, right? One is the circle, one is the triangle, and one is a square, and that's the name of the game. And I think the square can sort of...
The square removes those platforms, doesn't it?
So
the lined
the square
platforms.
is like heavy, and it can melt and go through, and then you become a circle again, right? And as you said, as I didn't realize this, but you certainly realize it, that if it moves, then it's going to kill you, right? Which is a good rule to follow with games in general.
Generally in
but
life, that's what happens.
when I got to this point here, I was like, oh, a friendly circle. You know,
Yes.
I must be friends with the circle, and maybe I'll get like, you know, double circle, or maybe I'll get some sort of bonus, right? But no, I don't do that because I would die. Worth noting again here, look, there's no score, right? There's no indication of anything, right? Which is clearly what the intention is, right? So you kind of get the feeling that you know, you're just kind of interacting with a sort of piece of art, really.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I got stuck here because I went, and again, this is where the game should probably need a bit more polish, but let me try to remember what I did. I guess I went, I must have gone down, avoided the square.
Down here, yeah.
Drop down here, and then jump over to avoid that square, and then up these platforms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and then switch to becoming a triangle, and then destroy this. Now, what I did, I'm not sure how I did it either, but I ended up back in that other room. Now, can I shoot these squares? Yes, I can, right? Okay.
I guess, yeah, if you die and you then appeared on the left-hand side of the screen...
Yeah, that's what happened. I think that's what must happen, because I ended up at the top.
Then you go back down there.
And I fell into that platform in the very center.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't turn the game off. And again, you know, if you want to you know, make your game a bit friendlier with for your punters, so to speak, then you need to give them the option. I mean, if you can get stuck, then at least give them the option to
die.
Well, yeah, give them the option to die. Thank you for, you know, filling in the gap there. Yeah. So anyway, it is a nice game. I mean, look, it's a pretty basic game. There's a lot of let's see, what are we gonna do here? I guess I'm gonna. Oh, what's happened there? What happened then?
You got hit.
Oh, did I? Okay, so I'm a circle. What did I get hit by? The circle.
The circle. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I'm not sure about the old collision detection there.
Well, I think it's standard AGD collision, isn't it? It's
yeah. So I've got to get in here, and then surely which is the oh, come on. So anyway, what about you guys in the comments? What do you think of it so far? I think it's pretty interesting, but
so there's obviously we played it last night. We had to mess around with it. for me, I love the mechanics. I think it's interesting. You don't get this sort of mechanic every day with an AGD game. It's not unique by any stretch of the imagination, but it's done well.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's tried to use, very simple color. Like as you go through the game, you'll notice that the platforms are all the same. So from that visual language that this is a platform, and this is what happens. That triangles will shoot, and as they do here, they shoot. That said, I found it just difficult. Well, not difficult. It wasn't. It didn't draw me in.
Yes.
I think, and that's just. It's personal preference, isn't it?
Well,
some
what, you and I, we like a good story, don't we? We like a story, and you can't really relate to a circle and a triangle and a square. I mean, there could be a way of doing that, maybe, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I really like the colors in here. I like the way some of the overlap. I like the way that the green, the cyan and the yellow have made a green there, and because they look like overlaid cellophane. Clever. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't know. There's not in. It doesn't keep my interest. I think that was the thing. It's kind of like, yes, it's nice, but it doesn't make me. Like with platform games, you want to explore. You want to see the next cool thing, and it's just not exciting. I guess is maybe the crux of it for me. But that's just, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, something wrong with that. Oh, maybe not. Can I get away with this? Oh.
Another thing that I was thinking is obviously like there. You move if you move the player around, the player character around, it animates. But as soon as you stop, there's no animation. And maybe...
Yeah, that makes it a bit lifeless, doesn't it?
Yeah. Having it animate all the time, I think that would add a little bit more life to it. Yeah. I think this is where I got to, Alan, and I just got stuck, and I almost ended up right back at the beginning of the game. And I'm like, oh, so where do I go?
It's really hard to remember anything about where you are, isn't it? Like you.
This is it. This is exactly. I think this is exactly right.
I mean, I've got no idea where I am in terms of. I mean,
I'm exploring and what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, because I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah. So here you are. I think you're back right at the start now, aren't you?
I'm thinking I'm at the start. Yeah.
Yeah. So and this is it, and I just thought, oh, what did I miss?
Yeah.
Because now I've got to go back through all of that again, and try and work out should I go somewhere different.
Yeah. And there isn't really a lot of visual clues because you're not tapping into your memory then, are you really? Because you're sort of like
no.
I mean, of course I remember being here, but
yeah.
But that's disheartening, to be honest. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go.
It is a little,
again. I don't want to be. Doing
I guess it's like any game, you're gonna learn it, but this is where I think as I say, the levels just aren't exciting enough to make me then really want to explore it.
It's an interesting idea, but it's somewhat limited.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the area. I was wondering what was behind that square, but then I realized that I've already been here.
Yeah.
I mean, behind that square there, I came over there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is.
So there's one other place. Because obviously we got stuck at the same sort of place here, which is where you drop down and there's a platform with two squares on it, and then there's another square below. and you're kind of forced to go right out of that screen. But I'm thinking maybe you need to go left, but you can't go left, and I think that's.
Oh, this is where I was before, right? So I shouldn't go that way anyway. I'm not correct.
Yeah,
well, something again about AGD games. The sprites, you know, they don't permanently disappear, do they? So
no,
there's no way. Look, there isn't another way other than that way anyway.
No, I know you did a patch for that, didn't you?
Well, there was one. Yeah, there was an option. Rose says, intriguing but migraine-inducing game.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if this was, and obviously he's embracing the color clash here. This is something I was thinking about today as I was thinking about what, you know, I didn't want to be really negative about the game because it's not. Because as I say,
it's an interesting idea, and there's no lives either.
Really cool
they're really kind of. It's just you keep exploring and keep doing stuff.
I think there are lives, aren't there? I think I died.
Uh-oh, I've just realised that I've turned into a triangle and I can't... Look, I'm stuck now.
Yes, you are.
I mean, well, yeah, I am, look.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, well, that's okay. As long as if I can get back, that's all right. Yeah, look, you know what? The idea of the circle and the triangle and the square each having a different power, that's nice, right?
Yes.
A little bit more animation, which is what we like. We would like to see that, right?
But imagine
more character somehow. Well, I said, you know, if this was like a rhythm game, where there was a certain something to do with the timing of the game. I mean, I know there was a game like that. With I can't remember what it was. There is I don't know. Have you played? It's not really like this, but have you played Vib Ribbon on the on the PlayStation?
No.
Because that's an interesting game. In that game, you're a. I'm not running out of lives here, by the way. Aye. Okay, I know now that with that level, I just jump. No. Oh, I don't know. Maybe is there some? It's not clear, is it? Which ones are platforms? Is it usually blue and black, or something?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think blue and black is platforms. Interestingly, with this game, the author has released the source code as well, so that
I saw that. That's a good idea.
Which is nice, yeah, because for people who want to learn, that's really nice. And I mean, look, I tell you what, I'm not going to say I'm mad about this game, but I like the author. I like the fact that, you know, he wants to do something different, and he's got this kind of philosophy, and he's into this kind of exploring. And when I say that, I mean exploring, you know, different ideas. It's got to be this way, hasn't it? Right?
Yeah. But I think this is now where we're. Yeah, so we're going to come up against the screen where I was talking about a minute ago.
Yeah. So this is really where you want to be doing a save state, you know, so you don't.
Yeah.
What I'm tempted to
so
do,
we dropped down.
I'm tempted to go over here and see what happens.
So. Yeah.
There's nothing here though.
There's nothing there. But if you go back left, and then. I think you've got to drop down and see where the circle is. You've got to get in there. But the timing has got to be perfect to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got to get off that end of that platform and then down.
I have got the skills though. Right?
There you go. Yeah.
But this is the start, isn't it?
No.
You sure? It looks like the start.
Oh. It is now, but it wasn't. So yeah,
so Rose says, what's interesting is this game as it is wouldn't be written for any other platform. No, I suppose not. No, I mean, well, you know, there are other machines that have sort of limitations like this.
Yeah.
But
I wonder what it would look like if everything was lines, like rather than blocks. So where you've got like the diagonals are made of just 8x8 blocks. If everything was just nice, sharp, like 45-degree lines or 33, degree lines or whatever. So obviously that wouldn't be a Spectrum game, but you're looking probably at a PC game. But it's almost like these are light shafts, aren't they? And you got the different colours changing as the different coloured light interact. So that's what I was just thinking. Maybe as a 24-bit game or a 24-bit colour game, maybe there's more you could do with it that would make it
maybe so, yeah, and maybe even involve the color changes like within the polygons themselves, right? Yeah, that would be interesting. Yes, I think you could combine something to do with the music. You could maybe do, as you mentioned there, and the other thing is, of course, I mean, there is a game. The only other game that I'm thinking of that uses this kind of shapes is something like Geometry Wars, right? And that kind of vector feel. So I wonder how it might look as a sort of vector game. It might also be interesting with the triangles and scaling, right? Like a bigger circle, smaller circle, bigger square, smaller square. You know, there's definitely some interesting ideas in there.
Yeah.
And we've had quite a good conversation, haven't we? I think.
Yeah.
So well done to.
I mean, he's
well
just
done
filled
to the
out
guy that made
an
it.
hour
I'm
and a half
sorry,
of...
I haven't written down his name again, but I did mention it earlier, and good effort, because
yes,
it ain't no
Amowex.
There it is, Amowex. Yeah. So just a couple of things to say about that. So he said he wanted to have an idea of a game that would be created by an abstract artist. He
think he achieves it.
Yeah, and he discovered the Spectrum quite late in 2014. He loved the color clash, and so he wanted to kind of use it as a real as a graphic effect, right? So light, shadow, layering. So yeah, and there's a certain he's got an artistic kind of temperament, and there's kind of philosophical ideas and various things, which is kind of cool. And looking at the levels, there are some later levels which are like purely monochromatic and and various other things. So more of an experience than a game, then, right? And but a pleasant enough experience, and the music was.
And this is his first Spectrum game to come up with some mechanics like
was it
this.
His first one? I thought he'd made a couple of others. Yeah, I think he has. Yeah, he made a game called Virgil's Purgatory, I think.
Okay.
Which is again, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, that's a connection to isn't that a connection to the
he's done a few.
the Divine Comedy? Is it a connection to that, or
to Prologue, Virgil's Purgatory.
Yeah, you see, look at me. I'm coming across as so artistic and sophisticated for knowing that it was a reference to Divine Comedy.
He's done quite a few games.
Yeah, the Divine Comedy. It's a narrative poem by Dante Alighieri, and it was heaven and hell. And
actually, I remember seeing this. Maybe we should have a look at that. The Virgil's Purgatory one. That looks quite nice. Again, excellent use of colour.
Yes. And one of my favorite quotes, and it's you like this because it's a nice crossover between high art and Star Trek, right? So not only Star Trek, but even lowbrow Star Trek. If I say lowbrow Star Trek, which Star Trek series am I talking about?
I don't know.
It's of course it's going to be Voyager, isn't it? It's the bloody
You think?
lowbrow. I mean, what I'm talking about is on the scale of high art Star Trek, right?
True. Yeah, it was 80s.
No, but
or
I'm
90s.
talking. You know, like no, look. You say like, you know, there's all kinds of different Star Trek, but Voyager. I mean, I do enjoy it, but it is a little bit lowbrow. But the Doctor, of course, is pretty much the best character, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's he quotes Dante Alighieri. I don't remember which episode. Someone can go and find it, but it's a wonderful quote from Dante Alighieri. You know, 15th century, whatever it is. And he says, in that book, which is my memory, on the first page of the chapter, that is the day when I first met you, appear the words, here begins a new life. So, yeah. And I've quoted that to my wife because I think it's just a beautiful expression of you know, what it means when you really meet the right person. You know, your whole life can sort of begin again. So anyway, guys, we're going to everyone's talking about Star Trek now. Let's say Voyager and I'll leave. No, come on. Voyager is a curate's egg, right? Do you know what a curate's egg is? I hope you do.
No.
It's a 19th century cartoon, and there's a guy and he's eating an egg. The curate is eating an egg, and the guy says, that egg's rotten. And he says, no, I assure you some parts of it are really tasty, right? So
Right.
so when you say a curate's egg, it basically means something that is a mix of shit and sugar, right? So
Yeah.
listen, there's a fair amount of shit in Voyager, especially Neelix and a few other things, but there is some sugar, and we know what sugar we're talking about. No, but seriously, yes. it's Borg sugar, isn't it? That's what it is. But
Certainly is.
Anyway, no, in all seriousness, come on, 7 of 9. Yes, I know she's a babe and all this. That's true, but her story arc is actually pretty good.
It's one of the best, isn't it? To be honest,
it's not bad. You know, I mean, I think it was in a way it was a little bit unfortunate that she was so gorgeous that people didn't really, you know, think about it that much. But it was a very interesting idea that, you know, she was a little girl when she was assimilated, and she had to kind of cope. She had to basically grow up from the age of about 25 or whatever she was, you know. But anyway, we won't talk about her in Picard or whatever, because, you know, that's a different 7 as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, Mitsuyama says that Enterprise sucked, right? And the theme tune is rubbish too. Okay, now listen, right? The theme tune is bloody terrible, right? But nobody is going to stop me from enjoying Enterprise because I enjoy it. I
can't like the theme tune.
No, the theme tune is really hard to get over, so you just have to skip it, right? It's been a long way. It's a bad idea, right? But come on, there are, again, it's a curate's egg, right? There's some really good episodes.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that in Enterprise, right? But you've got to wait. You've got to get through about two seasons at least, and then it starts getting good. Because then, like, you know, Brent Spiner turns up, and he's like this kind of genetic scientist, and you find out why the Klingons in Star Trek original series don't have any ridges on their head, and you know, all kinds of cool and interesting things like that, you know. Which I thought that was a great storyline. And spoiler alert for you guys who were watching, but yeah, he was experimenting with augmentation in the same way that created Khan, right?
Yeah.
And the Klingons stole that technology, and they tried to create these kind of super warriors, right? But because it was human DNA, they ended up creating these smooth-headed Klingons, and that's the reason why you got smooth-headed Klingons in Star Trek the original series. And I thought that was great. You know, that was really good. And it's that it was referenced in Deep Space Nine when they did the Trials and Tribulations, was it called? When they went back to the original series, they went back in time.
Yeah.
They went back. They went back to O'Brien met Kirk and everything like this. And when they asked Worf about the Klingons, he said, "Well, those don't look like Klingons. Why have they not got ridges?" And he just says, "We do not talk about that," or something. "We do not discuss it with outsiders." Anyway, you're saying Trip didn't die. Well, yeah. Let's all say, because it was all in the holodeck, right? And somebody basically hacked the holodeck to make everybody think that he died. Yeah?
Well,
but
no,
it was part of Section 38 or whatever it was.
It was part of Section 31, and they basically made it look like he died so that he could carry on. Like basically, they threw him toward the Romulan Empire, because the whole of the next series was going to be about the Romulan Star War.
Right.
Romulan Star Empire War.
Yes. And they didn't actually...
And so the books kind of carry on with that story, and he's undercover on Romulus. Yeah, it was very cool.
And was that always part of the plan, or is that just...
I don't think that was part of the plan. The Romulan Federation Romulan War was the plan.
Yes.
That was going to be Series 5. I think because it didn't happen, they just decided to do it in the books. But the whole like set of books for Enterprise after that, and the way they did the war was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're not doing a Star Trek podcast, but nevertheless, Mitsuyama, please go and try and give, if you are a fan of Star Trek generally, try and get to season 3 and 4, because there's some really good stories in there, you know. Some really, really enjoyable ones. I mean, that one particularly springs to mind, but there's a couple of others as well. There's some time travel
the last
stuff.
season was a little bit of a...
there's ones with there's one with the Borg that connects to Star Trek First Contact, right? Yeah, where they it explains how the Borg discovered Earth and various things like this, and they really started doing the fan service big time by season 3 and 4, and that's what made it, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to start talking too much about Picard, but I have watched the first. I mean, I'm trying to I'm force feeding myself this stuff, because it's just, I like the fan service, but I can't be doing with the storyliners, and it's just not good. It doesn't feel good. And but I should watch Strange New Worlds, right? Apparently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's get on. Let's do some. Oh, Andy's saying he needs an early night. Well, let's do just a little bit of coding, right? This is what they're here for. They've been waiting for...
Oh, no.
Right, we've got about 30 minutes, right? Let's do 30 minutes of coding. Is that all good with you?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that now, because we just got carried away with the chat. As we do. Right then, let's see. Is this kicking in? You guys all ready for a little bit of coding? Look, we've only got three people. Everyone's given up because we've just been talking.
Are they? Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. But not a problem. Perhaps they'll catch up later. Right. Let's do it. Is it? Yeah, I'm gonna just relegate you a little there. Put you down there a little bit.
Yeah. Can you put that onto Discord as
Yes.
well? Yeah.
Surely can. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right, so where were we last time?
So we're done.
Previously on Happy Coding.
We've done the Hello World, haven't we?
Yes. Right. And I said, catch you guys soon. Okay then, Lord Soup. He's not one for the coding. But I think Mitsuyama is still here. He's a very loyal coder. So let's okay. Rather than do some code then, right? Let's just talk about some principles, because you remember that we spoke about, we've got the accumulator, right?
Yeah.
And we've got registers, register pair B and C, register pair D and E, register pair H and L, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now there are other registers.
Okay.
But for now, we're going to talk about a missing letter, another register, which actually pairs with A, and it's called F.
Okay.
And F is the flag register.
Yeah.
Right? So we know these are all 8-bit registers. So we've got 8 bits like that. Yeah? Now the thing about the flag register is it is not a register that is directly controlled by the coder, right? Incidentally, there is a register called PC, right, which is the program counter. That tells you where you are in memory.
Okay.
That's also a register, you know, like so when you're looking at the debugger in Spectaculator, right?
Yeah.
I don't think. Well, you can bring it up. I don't think I've got it on the screen here, but you can see the registers that you've basically got. PC, which is a program counter, and SP, which is the stack pointer, right? So remember we did the stack last week, and the SP is the stack pointer. It tells the CPU where the stack is, right, in memory. Okay. And normally what you do is you just reserve that part of the memory, and you know you only need, say, maybe 32 or 64 bytes of memory to just, you know, you can have as much as you want, but you don't normally kind of stack things up more than, say, 16 pairs.
Right.
I mean, you might, but, you know, 64 bytes is usually plenty for the stack. Depends on what you're doing, but yeah, in this example, the stack is, would be, well, I'm still looking at the game here, so the stack's actually a little bit lower down, but Lord Soup has just sent me a message that he would like to learn code, but he's too drunk. So, anyway, well, listen, I'm sure Lord Soup will catch up with us at some point when he's more sober. Yes. Yep. So, I tell you what, Lord Soup, you might not be able to code right now because you are drunk. But you know what? I am bald. But in the morning, you will be sober. But I'll still be bald. But anyway, let's get back to the register. He might be bald as well. I hope if he is, then big up Bald Brothers, Bald Brotherhood. You know. No, you might laugh about that, Andy. You don't know about that. You don't know if you don't know about Bald Brotherhood.
You don't? No.
You see,
No.
you see when you're walking down the street and you see another bald brother, you'd be like, yeah, you know what it's like. Yeah, I know what it's like. Yeah, all good. And it's like hard, you proper, zero hair. That's the course. You know,
Yeah.
there's the High Council of the Bald Brotherhood. And then there's the guys that are members that haven't embraced it. You know.
Yeah.
Comb overs, you know, combing it down the front, all this. Just embrace it. It's life, you know. Anyway, and my wife likes it, and so that's all fine by me.
Yep.
Anyway, let's go back to talking about these registers, right? So, as I said, you've got the stack pointer, you've got the program counter, those we know about, and then you've got A, F, B, C, D, E, H, L, and then you might also see, sometimes you might see, okay, so Mitsuyama wants to know